I need a break from being your wife, she texted on our anniversary. I uncovered her affair, planned my exit, and handed her the divorce papers. Her face? Pure shock. 7 years of marriage. I had planned a quiet dinner at home, something simple but meaningful. Work had been hectic for both of us, so I figured a relaxed evening together would be the best way to celebrate. I bought her favorite wine, set the table, and even picked up a small gift. Nothing extravagant, just something personal. She hadn't mentioned anything about our anniversary that morning. No happy anniversary text, no hint that she remembered. I told myself she was just busy. Maybe she had something planned as a surprise. I tried not to overthink it. By evening, she still hadn't come home. No calls, no messages. I sent her a text. Hey, what time will you be home? I've got something planned. No response. An hour passed, then another. The food got cold. The wine sat untouched. I was about to call her when my phone buzzed. I need a break from being your wife. I stared at the screen. It was blunt, cold, no explanation, just that. At first I thought it was a joke, a bad one, but there was no follow-up, no laughing emoji, nothing to soften the impact. I called her straight to voicemail. I sat there staring at the dinner table I had set for us, trying to make sense of it. Was this a spur-of-the-moment thing? Something I said or did? I checked my messages trying to find a clue. Something I might have missed. Nothing. A bad feeling crept in. I opened my laptop and checked our shared bank account. A recent transaction caught my eye. A luxury hotel reservation, same-day check-in. It didn't take long to put the pieces together. The location, the timing, her sudden need for a break. This wasn't just about needing space. I looked up the hotel online. It wasn't just any hotel. It was one of the most expensive ones in the city, the kind of place you don't book for some quiet self-reflection. I could have rushed over there, confronted her on the spot, but something held me back. What would that accomplish? A dramatic scene in a hotel lobby? An argument that would go nowhere? Instead, I took a different approach. I scrolled it through her social media. A recent post from that morning. Nothing unusual. Then I checked the pages of people she interacted with frequently. It didn't take long to find something that stood out. A guy from her office had also checked into the same hotel. Different post, but same location tag. Coincidence? I didn't think so. I had suspected something for a while, little things that didn't add up. Work trips that seemed too frequent. Messages she dismissed too quickly. But I had ignored the signs, maybe because I didn't want to believe them. Now, I didn't have to wonder anymore. I put my phone down, took a deep breath, and made a decision. I wasn't going to act impulsively. If she had planned this, I needed to plan my response. This wasn't just about a bad night. This was about my next move. I cleared the table, put the food away, and sat down with my laptop. If she wanted a break from being my wife, I was about to give her exactly that. I wasn't going to confront her yet. That would be too easy for her. She'd have excuses ready, half-truths, maybe even try to twist the blame onto me. No. I needed something stronger than accusations. I needed proof. I started with the basics. Our phone plan allowed access to call and text logs, so I checked hers. A specific number kept showing up late at night, early in the morning, during lunch breaks. It wasn't saved in her contacts, but I recognized it. The same guy from her office who had checked into the hotel. Next, I logged into our shared cloud storage. We rarely used it, but every now and then, photos would automatically back up. I scrolled through the recent uploads. There it was. A picture she must have taken without thinking. A shot of her cocktail glass on a marble table. The reflection of a man's hand holding another drink, just barely visible. The hotel's distinct logo in the background. She didn't even bother to hide it. I kept digging. Her laptop was still logged into our home Wi-Fi. I knew she had a separate personal email, but she often forgot to log out. A quick search, and I found drafts of emails she had never sent. Messages venting about how she needed something more, how things just happened between her and him, how she was tired of pretending. It wasn't just some random mistake. It wasn't a drunken lapse in judgment. This had been planned for weeks, maybe months. She had checked out of our marriage long before I even realized. I read through message after message, each one making things clearer. Their conversations weren't just casual flirting. They talked about trips they wanted to take, about how they felt alive around each other. She even joked about how clueless I was, how easy it was to lie. I sat there absorbing every detail. My first instinct was anger, but I pushed it aside. Emotion wouldn't help me now. Instead, I took screenshots, copied emails, backed up everything onto a separate drive. If this was going to end, I wasn't going to leave anything to chance. Then I checked our financial records. I wanted to know how much of our money had gone into financing her little getaway. Hotel stays, expensive dinners, spa visits, all charged to our joint account. That was the final confirmation. She wasn't just cheating. She was doing it on my dime. I had seen enough. I closed everything, locked the files away, and sat back. The reality of it all settled in. This wasn't something we could fix. There was no coming back from this. She thought she was in control, that she could keep living this double life while I remained oblivious, but she was wrong. She had no idea that I knew, and that gave me the advantage. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg for explanations. I was going to prepare, and when the time was right, I was going to make sure she never saw it coming. Knowing the truth wasn't enough. I needed to act, but this wasn't something I could rush. If I wanted to come out of this with my dignity, finances, and future intact, I had to be smart. The first thing I did was contact a divorce lawyer. Not just any lawyer. I found one with a reputation for handling cases like mine, someone who specialized in high-asset divorces and infidelity cases. During our first meeting, I laid everything out. The messages, the financial records, the proof of her affair. He listened carefully, nodding as he went through the documents. "You have more than enough," he said. "This will work in your favor." That was exactly what I wanted to hear. We discussed strategy. I didn't want a long drawn-out battle, but I also wasn't going to let her walk away with half of everything after what she had done. We reviewed our assets, joint accounts, investments, property. I followed my lawyer's advice to start separating finances immediately. The next step was securing my own funds. I opened a new bank account under my name only, and started moving my salary into it slowly, carefully to avoid raising suspicion. I also went through our joint accounts and documented every transaction related to her affair, the hotel, the dinners, the gifts. She had been using our money to fund her double life. That wasn't going to sit well in court. Once my financial side was secured, I turned my focus to the house. We owned it together, but I had paid for most of it. My lawyer advised me to stay in the house and not leave under any circumstances. If she decided to walk away, that was on her. But I wasn't giving up my home without a fight. I also started gathering personal belongings, important documents, sentimental items, things I didn't want to risk losing. I packed them discreetly, storing them at a friend's place just in case. Throughout all of this, I maintained my routine, went to work, kept up appearances, acted completely normal around her. When she sent the occasional text, I responded casually, never giving away what I knew. If she came home, I made small talk, but nothing more. She believed she was getting away with it, that I had simply accepted her need for space. What she didn't realize was that I was quietly closing every door behind her. A few days later, I set up another meeting with my lawyer to finalize the divorce papers. Everything was falling into place. She thought she was in control. She had no idea that she had already lost. She walked back into the house like nothing had happened. No apologies, no explanations. Just a casual, almost indifferent attitude, as if she had simply been away on a work trip. I heard the door open while I was in the kitchen. I didn't rush to greet her. I kept chopping vegetables for dinner, acting as if her absence hadn't even registered. "Hey," she said, setting her bag down by the door. "Hey," I replied, not looking up. There was a pause. She was expecting something, maybe anger, maybe an interrogation. She didn't get either. She walked further in, glancing around as if checking to see if anything had changed. "How was your week?" she asked. Her tone forced, like she was trying to gauge my mood. "Busy," I said. That was all. She shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the reaction she had anticipated. No confrontation, no desperate questions about where she had been. I wasn't playing the part of the suspicious husband. I was just neutral. She tried a different approach, mentioning a long weekend with friends, and how she had needed time to think. She threw in a few vague lines about feeling overwhelmed and wanting space to clear her head. I nodded. "Sounds nice," I said. still not giving her what she wanted. She waited, expecting more. When I didn't ask for details, she hesitated, then finally carried her bag to the bedroom. For the next few days, she acted as if things were normal. She went to work, came home, scrolled through her phone on the couch. I kept playing my role, acting like a man who had simply accepted her version of events. I didn't ask where she had been. I didn't push for answers. I let her believe that I was exactly where she wanted me, passive, oblivious, accepting. She tested the waters a few times, throwing out small comments to see if I would react. She mentioned a coworker's name, the same one I knew she had been with. She casually talked about how stressful work had been. She even dropped hints about how we should communicate better moving forward. Each time, I gave her nothing. I could see her confidence growing. She thought she had gotten away with it, that her break had been accepted, and that I was just grateful she had come back. A couple of weeks later, she finally brought up what I had been waiting for. We were sitting at the table, eating dinner in near silence, when she set her fork down and looked at me. "I've been thinking," she said carefully. "Maybe we should talk about what this means for us." I took a sip of water and nodded. "Go on." She shifted in her seat, trying to choose her words. "I think we should define what this space means. Maybe set some expectations, so we don't have misunderstandings." She thought she was leading this conversation, that she was still in control. I leaned back in my chair, keeping my expression unreadable. "That's actually a great idea," I said. And just like that, she walked right into the moment I had been preparing for. She thought she was leading the conversation, that she was the one setting the terms. I let her talk. She started with vague statements about how relationships evolve, and how sometimes couples need to redefine their boundaries. She spoke carefully, testing the waters, making sure she wasn't pushing too hard. "I just think," she continued, "that if we want to make this work, we should be open to adjustments." Adjustments. That was the word she chose. Not apologies, not accountability, just a rearrangement of the situation to fit her needs. I leaned forward slightly. "And what kind of adjustments are you thinking?" She hesitated, like she hadn't expected me to be this calm. "Well, I needed space, and I think that's okay. I think we should both feel free to have time apart when we need it, without pressure." I nodded, as if considering her words. "No pressure." "Right." She relaxed, taking my response as agreement. "And I know it was sudden, but I really did need that time. And maybe moving forward, we can just be a little more flexible about what we expect from each other." She was dancing around the point, trying to make it sound reasonable. She wasn't asking for a separation. She wasn't admitting what she had done. She was trying to redefine the rules so that what she had done was suddenly acceptable. I could see it in her eyes. She thought I was going to agree, that I would nod and accept whatever she was proposing, because I had played along this far. Instead, I stood up, walked over to the counter, and picked up the envelope I had prepared days ago. I set it down in front of her. "What's this?" she asked, frowning. "You said you needed a break from being my wife," I said, my voice even. I decided to make that permanent. She stared at the envelope, not moving. Then she let out a small, nervous laugh. "Wait. What?" "Divorce papers." The color drained from her face. She opened the envelope, flipping through the pages as if she couldn't believe they were real. This isn't funny," she said. "I'm not joking." Her hands started to shake. You already had these prepared?" "Yes." She looked up at me, finally realizing that I had known all along. "You're serious?" Completely. The confidence she had walked into this conversation with was gone. Her entire plan had crumbled in seconds. She shook her head, trying to gather herself. "We don't have to do this. We can talk about this." "I was just suggesting." "No," I interrupted. "You weren't suggesting anything. You were just trying to justify what you've already been doing." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. "You made your choices," I continued. "You took your space. You spent our money on your little trips, and you thought I'd just sit here and wait for you to decide what happens next." She swallowed hard. "I never meant I don't care what you meant," I said. "This is happening. And since I already have all the proof, I suggest you sign those papers before this gets ugly." For the first time, she realized she had lost control. She wasn't the one deciding what happened next. I was. She sat there gripping the divorce papers like they might disappear if she held them tightly enough. Her mind was scrambling, searching for a way out, for some angle she could manipulate, but there wasn't one. Not this time. I don't understand why you're doing this, she finally muttered. I laughed, a short, humorless laugh. You don't understand? I repeated. You lied. You cheated. You spent our money on your affair. And now you're surprised that I don't want to be married to you anymore? She shook her head. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. I cut her off. And the worst part, you didn't even have the decency to be honest about it. You wanted to keep me on standby while you figured out what you wanted. But I'm not an option, and I'm sure as hell not waiting around for you to decide if I'm worth it. Her breathing was uneven now. Panic was setting in. You don't have to do this. She tried again. We can work through this. I sighed. No. We can't. And, honestly, I wouldn't want to even if we could. She flipped through the papers again, stalling for time. What if I don't sign them? She asked, her voice weaker now. Then I take everything I have to court, I said. The messages, the bank statements, the proof that you used our money to fund your little escape. Trust me. The way this plays out is up to you, but the outcome doesn't change. Her hands clenched the papers, and for a moment, she just sat there staring at the table. Then she pushed back her chair and stormed into the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. I didn't follow. She signed the papers 3 days later. The legal process was smoother than I expected, thanks to all the preparation. My lawyer handled everything, and since I had the evidence, she didn't have much leverage. She walked away with less than she thought she'd get. Not long after, her life started unraveling. Her relationship with her coworker didn't last. He was gone as soon as things got serious. Whatever future she had imagined with him fell apart before it even began. Word spread at her workplace. People talk. Affairs between colleagues rarely stay secret for long, especially when they involve expensive hotel stays and company trips. Her reputation took a hit. Promotions she had expected didn't happen. Friends she thought were loyal distanced themselves. Meanwhile, I was free. No more second-guessing, no more waiting for someone to value me the way I deserved. I focused on myself, on rebuilding my life without the weight of a one-sided marriage dragging me down. For the first time in a long time, I felt in control. Months passed. Then one evening, I was out with friends when I saw her. She was sitting alone at a small cafe, staring at her phone, waiting for a message that wasn't coming. She looked up and saw me. Our eyes met for a second. I nodded once, then turned away. She wasn't my problem anymore. Our story has come to an end.
After listening to today's story, perhaps it has raised some new questions in your mind, or maybe it has brought back some old memories. Every day on Reddit, new experiences and moments create fresh stories, and they connect all of us. Everyone has their own unique journey in life, and we all try to understand the world in our own way. These kinds of moments remind us that we are all human, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, and always learning something new. If you enjoyed this story, feel free to share it with your friends. Your thoughts and feedback are always valuable to us, as they motivate us to create even better content. Every story has its own unique angle, and our goal is to understand everyone's perspective and make our content diverse and relatable. Stories like these help us realize that life's journey is different for everyone, and by hearing other stories, we learn something new. You can also share your own stories with us. Your experiences are valuable to us as well, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave your feedback. We aim to create content that brightens your mind and gives you new ideas every time. If you've already seen this video before, your feedback is still important. With every piece of feedback, we can improve our content and bring a new perspective to our viewers. Today, what we saw was just a small part of the many stories shared on Reddit and across the world. It's a reminder of how we all try to understand life by sharing our experiences with each other. This video was only an example of how we try to connect with others through storytelling, learning about different sides of life. We hope to continue sharing such stories that help us all learn and grow together. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to keep an eye out for more stories coming soon. If you haven't already, please like and follow for more amazing content. Your support keeps us going, and we will strive to bring you more thought-provoking and heartwarming stories. Until next time, take care and stay curious. *.